Dom, thank you so much for coming on the AIM podcast.
Dude, thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming. I appreciate you giving me the platform and just stoked to rock out with you, bro.
Bro, first off, just want to say thank you for coming on. And also, God bless that you're here, bro. You've had a whirlwind of the last few weeks, last few months. And yeah, I never want to take this for granted. I think, and I'm sure you can relate having your own podcast, but getting a chance to have these intentional conversations with individuals is really special. And you can look back and be like, man, those were moments that we shared, those moments that we came together collectively and we tried to put out content, put out a conversation that has the potential and the hope to inspire and impact. And, being able to do this with you today, bro, especially after, what you've been through recently is really special and something I personally don't want to take for granted and just kind of want to set up this whole conversation just with a layer of gratitude for you as a friend, but also just this time together to hopefully share your story and just hopefully make a big impact through what you've been through.
Yeah, man, that word right there, gratitude, is just strikes me right in the heart and something that I wake up every day with now. And it's something you always hear, right? You hear like, be grateful, practice gratitude, like all this stuff. It's a very popular word. It's a buzzword in like the, fitness community and the in personal development or whatever, but it's like, what does it actually mean to have gratitude, to like actively practice gratitude, to be grateful? It's like to wake up with just this feeling of overwhelming joy in like, I can get up and I can like get out of my bed on my own power. I can go for a walk. I can like drink this water. I can go to, I'm not going to the gym right now, but like, I can go and have this conversation with you. Like, I get to call my mom. I can do all these things. Whereas all of that was like so close to being not, I don't want to say taken away from me, but like all that was almost gone.
Yeah.
And now just waking up every day, like I just am so literally just so grateful for the things that I get to do on a daily basis. I don't think of the things that like I have to check this thing off my to-do list. I have to check all these boxes. I have all these things I have to do. I really think it's like I get to do everything now. Sure, there are things that I am not always super amped up and excited to go do. And sure, I wish I could go to the gym. I wish I could go for runs. I wish I could do all those things, but it's just a season of life where I'm working on like my mental and my spiritual fitness versus like my physical fitness, which I have been for so long. And again, I'm just like immensely grateful for everything that I get to do in this life, because when it's almost taken away from you in an instant, you realize just, how amazing it is that you can just like, drink this water, have a good conversation, enjoy a nice walk, feel the sun and, its healing rays, all that. It's just, it's incredible.
Wow, that's so well put, bro. And I appreciate you sharing that. It's crazy. And I'm guilty of this more than, just as much as anyone else. Like I feel like we take for granted a lot of things and especially things that are just readily available at our fingertips, and it's like until you either lose it or almost lose it, it's hard to truly know the impact or the value that particular thing or activity or person has in your life. And so like I just hope that this conversation can be just a wake up call or reminder for people out there, myself included, to just like cherish life, cherish the little things, and like don't let anything go unnoticed or anything be taken, for granted just for the fact, like you said, drinking a cup of water, having a conversation, calling your mom. Like those are things that, it's so easy in this busy world of, everything we have going on to just lose sight of. So I really hope that this conversation can be a wake up call slash reminder for those people.
100%. There's no better, there's no better feeling. There's nothing that gives me like more of a sense of joy than just being able to do those things on a daily basis. Like I just mentioned to you, I think we get caught up in a society in just thinking of like the next task that we have to do. We think we're constantly, our brain wakes up, we're immediately like, boom, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to go here. And then I got to pick up the kids, and then I got to drop off the dry cleaning, and I got to go to the gym, and I got to try to do all these million things. But at the end of the day, it's like when you just change your frame of mind, rather than like, I have to go to the gym, but like rather like I get to go and take care of my body. I don't have to eat healthy. I get to put this like nutritious food into my body so that I'm able to show up as the best version of me. When you can just change your frame of mind around all those things, it really just creates this like positive like flywheel, this positive feedback loop. Whereas like you're so deeply connected to everything that you're doing that you stop living passively and you just live more intentionally. Because I think like living passively is something that I had done for a long time. But when you're like truly living with intentions, like you're actively trying to get better at something every day, you're trying to be a better friend, a better spouse, a better teammate, a better coworker, a better leader, whatever else it may be. It's really easy to just go through your day to day, your week to week, your month to month, and realize like, man, like what was I doing to get better, to see progress? And when you're living intentionally, it's like, okay, how how am I handling myself in this conversation? I used to be like, I would just go in, it would be one in ear, one ear, out the other a lot of times when I was having conversations, that I would always just be thinking about like that next thing that I had to go do, or like, man, like I can't wait to get to the gym after this, or being on a meeting, like, man, just scrolling through social media, like while I'm on the meeting, or like whatever else it was. But when like you're able to put your focus and attention into everything, like if you're at the gym, like don't just throw the weights up just to do it. Like be intentional, like feel your muscles, like feel those contractions, feel yourself getting stronger. Like when you're out on a run, tap into your breath, tap into every step that you're taking. When you're in a conversation, listen to every word that's coming from the other person's mouth. And like just being really intentional with everything is going to eliminate that like passiveness that 99.9 of society, 99.9% of society is living with, help you live with more intention, ultimately get you where you want to go.
Mm. Dude, I completely agree with that. It's tough. It's obviously easier said than done, but it's so true, man. If you can tap into that realm, I think that's where you do see the progress, you see the growth. And I think, what's interesting, like I feel like we have a very similar brand in the sense of, wanting to help people, trying to drive out the best in others, like, encourage people to be ambitious. But I truly believe if you want to be the best version of yourself, you have to have a mindset that's committed to improvement. And I think being intentional is one of the key ingredients of improving. Like if you're not intentional with your process, with the things you're doing, like you're not gonna improve at the rate you could be, to your utmost potential. So I think that's just a really well put way of explaining just, what goes hand in hand if you truly want to be your best, and how you can elevate as a human.
And that goes for everything. I mean, I kind of look at my life in three major buckets. And this morning, at the time we were recording this podcast, I recorded a solo episode this morning, just kind of talking about how I view like setting up your day for success, why I think that's important, and like the small things that you can do. And I look at it in a realm of like spiritual, mental, and physical, right? And so I kind of just shared like what I do each morning that sets me up for success by checking those three boxes, by working on my mental health, physical health, spiritual health. Every day, first thing I do is I'm making my bed. I'm getting that small win. Then I'm drinking water with electrolytes. Boom, that's a win for my body. Ultimately, it's going to be a win for my mind because it's going to help me be more hydrated, more energized for the rest of the day. And then I go out and I do a couple of minutes of stretching. Then I go out for a walk. I'm doing something for my body. That's about, the well, this is really my only thing I can do right now. Obviously, since I'm not at the gym, I can't run. So I'm getting out there. I'm get my hot girl walk on, get a little elevation going. So right there in, a few, and then I'm saying my daily prayer and doing my daily devotional while I'm on that walk. So within like the first couple of minutes of my day, I've already checked the box of, working, did I do something for my mind? Yes. Did I do something for my body? Yes. Did I do something for my spirit, my soul? Yes. So it doesn't have to even be this long. And then I have been doing like some meditation because again, I have a little more time on my hands, still trying to work through some emotional, things that have gone on over the past month or so. But for me, like those are my boxes that I try to check every day: mental, physical, spiritual. That could be waking up, having an 8-ounce glass of water little pink salt, little lemon in there, maybe. Close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths, and then do 5 push-ups. Boom, you're checking all 3 of those boxes. And if you do nothing else the rest of the day, you still did something for yourself to improve in those 3 areas of life.
Dang, that's good, dude. I love that system. I want to obviously unpack a lot of things that you've been through recently, but before we kind of even dive into those things, I think it'd be really cool just to share a little bit more of your background, just for the context of, those listening so they could learn a little bit more about you. So I would love for you to just share a little bit about kind of early days growing up and kind of what your path looked like to get to kind of this relative point of life you're at now.
Yeah, so it's been a journey. The person that people see me on social media as, the person who, meet me in person as, like, I haven't always been this person. I haven't always had this perspective, this outlook on life, this energy, this optimism. Like, there's been a lot of things that have gone on in my life that have got me here. Growing up, I was the oldest of 4 kids and love my parents to death, both of them, but they did not get along. That ultimately led to a divorce, which was really, really tough. And kind of me being the oldest, it it forced me to be very independent. And also, like, I felt like I had to step up and lead for my younger siblings throughout that time. And ultimately, I kind of like had a grudge against my parents for a long time. But ultimately now at 24 years old, looking back on it, it was the best thing that could have happened because, my mom, she's happy, she's thriving. My dad, he's happy, he's thriving. All of us kids, like, we're doing really well. But ultimately, like, I always used fitness and athletics as an escape when I was a kid, and even up until, somewhat recently. Like, when I got to college was the first time I ever had a real um, injury. I played football in college. I played all through high school, played football in college, and never had anything like serious that I had to overcome physically. There's always things that I had to overcome, like mentally or emotionally or spiritually. And a lot of times I would kind of just push it to the side and just revert back to like sports or athletics or fitness or whatever else. And I would always kind of run away from my problems and kind of just avoid conflict in a lot of ways. But when I tore my ACL in college, my sophomore year, that was really the first time I was forced to take a step back and, not by choice, but realize, okay, anything like what you have right now can be taken away from you at any moment in time. Like, and we'll get into that, but it's kind of just shaped the way that I look at life. And again, we take so many things for granted on a day-to-day basis. And when I couldn't, after I had surgery on my ACL, like, I couldn't walk for a while. I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. I couldn't shower by myself. I couldn't do all these things by myself. And I had to go back to ground zero. Like, I had to learn how to walk again and then ultimately jog, jump, run. Um, it was 12 months of just consistent rehab, just putting one foot in front of the other and ultimately seeing yourself improve. So that's where I love, like, to just, and you say it all the time, like 1% better, like stacking bricks every day, getting those small wins. Because when you just show up and, it's like, okay, can I bend my leg a little further today? Can I ride the bike for, 5 minutes? Can I do an air squat? Like, you just show up and you continue to do that. That was a big like revelation for me in my life, and has kind of, in being in that tough season, has ultimately led me to realize, okay, like, if we just show up each day and we just aim to get a little bit better, we be intentional about things, we'll eventually heal and we'll come back stronger, which is what I did. But then ultimately I had a back injury the next season, really bad back injury, which was my junior year of college. That all really, that messed me up, like, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, everything. It was like, I just went through this whole year of getting my ACL and my knee recovered. And then all of a sudden I get this back injury. At least with the ACL, there's a timetable, like, okay, 9, 12 months, I'm back, I'm going to be playing. I'm going to be strong. Boom. The back, it took months before I could even like get an MRI, get a diagnosis. My physical therapy that I was going to sucked, so I wasn't getting any better. And I couldn't sit in class for more than 5 minutes without just being in so much pain. I couldn't work out with my team. It was miserable. I was miserable, and I was using not drugs. I was using alcohol as an escape drugs in terms of like I was using like ibuprofen and melatonin like clockwork because I literally couldn't bear the pain without taking it like every 4 hours, like on the dot, and I couldn't sleep without taking a bunch of melatonin. And so that ultimately like gave myself a stomach ulcer and boom, just like really, really messed me up. This all led into COVID too. So I was just at home. Now I don't have football. I don't have my friends. Like I don't have school. Like I don't have anything. And I was sitting there like drinking with my buddies on Zoom, like just being an absolute sack, doing nothing when I was home. Cause I couldn't like I could at this point my back was so bad, like I couldn't even obviously I couldn't go to the gym, but like I could barely walk, dude. I was in so much pain.
Hmm.
And I finally just like looked at myself in the mirror one morning and was just so disgusted at myself and the person that I was. And I just decided right there that that was the last day that I wasn't going to take full control of my life. And I started getting some good physical therapy. I started reading up on health and wellness and nutrition and mindset and the role that all those play, and just started applying those to my life. And at the same time, I started my podcast, Pure Ambition Podcast, selfishly just to pick the brains of high achieving people and, apply that to my own life. But I realized this is a great way to just share amazing knowledge and information with others out there in the world. So I felt like it was just a way for me to shed some light in a world that really needed some darkness. And so from there, I started doing the podcast, just got really into health and fitness, and realized that I didn't want to be a corporate bro, and that I wanted to do something different with my life. So I took a gap semester in would have been my last semester of college, got my nutrition coaching and personal training certification, started my own little business doing that, and have continued to grow the podcast. Ultimately, then became a co-founder of a health and wellness tech platform called Upspace. Continued to have done the podcast, Pure Ambition, and have been able to work with a lot of really cool brands, meet a lot of cool people. We got to link up in New York a couple of months back, which was epic. And it's just been amazing to see that when you are like intentional about your life and that you decide that you don't have to go the corporate route. You don't have to do the things that your parents did or grandparents did or what society is telling you to. When you realize you're really in full control of your life, your destiny. And, I got rebaptized last year. So I grew up in the Catholic Church and I kind of fell out of that during college. But in the months after I graduated, I just felt very, very empty and realized that it was a hole only God could fill and fill with that void. And after that, man, my whole life changed. Like when I just gave my life to Christ, and now I live every single day trying to be a warrior for Him, and spread His word. And I believe that He's using me as a vessel to ultimately like spread His word, spread awareness, like bring people to Christ. And the platforms that He's given me, I mean, I love content creation. Like I guess I forgot to mention that too, is like I'm a content creator myself, and I truly get so much fulfillment out of like just creating a piece of content every single day and being able the doors that it's open, and being able to connect with just amazing like-minded individuals like you. And my ultimate goal in life is to inspire and empower 100 million people to be the healthiest, happiest versions of themselves. And that's why I do what I do every day. I always ask people too, is like, if you don't have a why, then like the what and the how doesn't matter. Like you need to have a really strong why. And my why is really strong. And I try to do everything that I do. I try to align with that why and with my ultimate mission. And so now I'm living in Austin, Texas. I moved down here from Philly a couple months ago, And I am just doing my best every day to, like I said, improve physically, mentally, and spiritually, spread the word, and live each day like it's my last, because, and we'll get into it. It almost, I almost saw my last very recently.
Dude, that's incredible, bro. I want to applaud you and yeah, just man, just what you're doing is really special, and I love your heart. I think it's cool to you hear different people, especially being a podcast host, like I'm sure you can relate to here as well. But like you hear what all these people are doing and all the different things that they're passionate about. But when you can have a conversation with someone who genuinely cares about people, it's really special. And I get that from you, bro. I know where your heart is, man. It's really, really dope. Um, I want to talk to you. So you obviously I played college basketball, you played college football. There's this similarity of like making this transition from a college sport to this next phase of life, this next chapter, and you talk about kind of what that looked like for you. But even from like a physical standpoint, because I know running was something that you kind of stepped into. What did that kind of look like for you? Was it something you always enjoyed when you were younger and just kind of were able to do it more freely and more intentionally after football? Or is that like a big change for you?
Bro, I hated running. Absolutely hated running. I like playing football. If we had to run, it was a punishment.
Yeah.
Like it was not something. And also, you being a basketball player, me being a football player, it doesn't make sense for us to, when am I ever gonna have to run a mile in
Yeah.
football? When are you ever gonna have to run a mile in basketball? It's very short, explosive kind of movements, right? It's not ever like be able to run for a long period of time at like 70% of your max heart rate. Like it makes no sense. That's why, like, looking back, I'm like, really? When I was a freshman in high school, our coach for conditioning, we used to just run laps around the field for like 20 minutes. He'd be like, all right, mid practice, we're gonna run 20 minutes. Like, what the heck are we doing here? This is stupid. But at the time, obviously, you didn't know. You think, oh, I'm getting my conditioning up, whatever. So no, to answer your question, no, I hated running. I never thought I would be a runner. My our mutual friend Matt Choi was a good friend and mentor when I was in college. We met in like 2020, right as the pandemic hit. I had just started creating content online. He was like I mean, everybody knows him now. Like, you think Matt Choi, you think, runner, he's everywhere. He's doing a marathon a month, like hundreds of thousands of followers. Like, dude's just crushing it. When I met Matt, he had 2,000 followers. He was coaching football and he was like working at Orange Theory. Like, it was, and we connected because I saw he was putting out all football content. And I was like, oh, this dude looks like a homie. So I reached out to him, had him on my podcast. He was guest number like 9 or something like that. Like, he was an
Wow.
OG and has just been a really good friend and mentor to me since then. And I saw him getting into running, um, you know, as I was still in college. He was mentoring me, helping me out with like my nutrition, my training, and things like that. But he was getting into running. And so once I graduated, I was like, okay, now what? What do I do? Like, I don't know. Like, I've never trained just to train. Like, I need something to do. So I started running and I needed like a new challenge. So I started running, but I had no structure. The running shoes I was using were like one of my old teammates, like Under Armour, like workout shoes. They weren't even running shoes and they were just ripping up my feet. But um ultimately I needed something new, like a new challenge, a new stimulus. And running, there was something about it where I was like, I would get on a run, I'd be like, man, that was miserable, but like I like the nuance of it, and I like that I'm like I liked that that feeling of like being a beginner again, and that like I had something to work towards and something to work for, something that I could get better at and improve on. And then from there, I was just like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna run a marathon. Like, all right, like in a couple months. I was like, Philly marathons in like 5 months, 6 months. I'm just gonna sign up and I'm gonna go from there. Quickly realized like, all right, I gave myself a couple injuries, a little plantar fasciitis, a little stress fracture in my foot. I was like, I need some help with this. So I ultimately hired a coach and just started documenting my training leading up to that Philly marathon. And ultimately, like towards the end of that training block, started to pick up some traction, and people were just like invested in me going out and running this marathon, and just like me sharing my story of like, hey, I'm not a runner. like traditionally, like I'm just your average Joe, like retired, washed up football player who wants to go out and run a marathon. And I think people were able to relate to me just being like honest about like, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing here, but I'm gonna try to just figure it out along the way and share with you guys what I'm doing, document what I'm doing. And it's really just opened up these doors for me in life that I never expected. And when I really like went narrow and deep with the running and then also sharing like, hey, here's how I strength train with it, and here's the nutrition stuff that I do, and here's how like recovery tactics that have been working for me. And I stopped going so broad with the content that I was posting. I was like, all right, I really want to just dive deep on running. People started to resonate with that, and I got invited to run with a ton of people and go to different events and go on different podcasts and collaborate with other creators and things like that. And so running is something that I miss it. I miss it a lot, and I'm extremely grateful for, because it's really like helped me emerge into this person that I never thought I would be. It's given me such a unique challenge. I tried to go sub 3 in my second marathon and I failed miserably. And then I went out and ran my first ultra, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's so different than marathon running, but it's so cool. And it's something I definitely want to do more of. But I would definitely will be back to get after that sub 3 at some point too. But it's really cool because you don't have to run marathons or ultra marathons or constantly try to set PRs to like be a runner. Like you can just get out there, and it's something that is difficult, but I think a lot of people will agree, like once you just get going with it, it becomes kind of like an addiction. And it's just an amazing way to bring people together. Like there's such a unique community in running, and there's run groups everywhere and meetups. And honestly, it's just a great way for me when people are like, hey, you want to get coffee or do you want to go to dinner? I'm like, how about we just like go for a run? We kill two birds with one stone. We get to connect, share that sweat equity and whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been an incredible catalyst for my personal growth.
Dude, that's amazing. Yeah, I think it's crazy to see how running has brought so many people together. Like obviously there's a huge community element to it that you voiced. One thing that I've seen with running personally, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, is just the personal impact it's had on my business, my mind, my creativity, my faith. Like there's things like, don't get me wrong, I love linking up with a buddy and getting a run in or going in a group, but a lot of times I train alone. And I do that kind of intentionally just because I personally, it's always, I think everyone has their own preferences, but like I personally enjoy that physical time to like push my body in a way where I can really let my mind just flow. And, running's been a way for me to do that. And, in a way that I really haven't had it in any other like modality. And it's just given me so much insight. And like, I feel like God's spoken to me on runs. I feel like I've come up with some of my better ideas on runs, and like, again, not trying to make this a whole running conversation, but it really has been powerful in my life as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's why I'm doing so much walking now. Like I'm doing a ton of walking. Just because like I think there is something about just like being in motion that
Yeah.
like correlates with like our brain and our minds and our creativity, and just being able to be present in nature. You're getting the oxygen, you're getting the sunlight. I think there's just something really spiritual to it too. And I agree. A lot of those mornings they would be spent in my morning runs alone, me, my thoughts, nature, talking to God, letting him talk to me, coming back and doing like a post run, like sweaty journal session with just getting out on paper all the amazing thoughts that you would have. So yeah, it's something special for sure.
Awesome, bro. That's awesome. In addition to your running training, you talked about that transition from college to how you started to train and how that, dripped into your content and your brand that you're building. I'd love to hear more kind of about the business side because you're working on some really exciting projects. And, you mentioned Upspace and some other stuff you're doing with brands, but would love to hear a little bit more about that and kind of why you're, passionate about it and what that kind of looks like for you.
Yeah, so I have my hand in a couple of different things, but there's a lot of alignment between everything, which is, I'm super grateful for. And also, I've worked really hard to get to where I am now. I think a lot of people are quick to judge, creators and people who work within the space. And it's like, no, you didn't see the hours I spent up. Like working on this every single night, and the weekends where I was up early and doing it all day while you guys were out at the bar. And I'm not telling anybody like that it's the wrong or right or wrong way to do. I'm just saying like I've worked really hard to get to the position that I'm at, and I'm very proud of myself for that. I'm not content by any means, but again, just like grateful but never satisfied is kind of like a motto that I like to have. And so with Upspace is a essentially a platform centered around health, is a community building platform centered around health, happiness, and love, where you can find or build communities that are centered around these things. So I came on as a co-founder shortly after I graduated college because I saw what the intention of it was. One of our other co-founders, Chris, he was a personal trainer during COVID, and then he was trying to, help his clients get all of their, he was giving their workouts through Google Sheets, collecting payment through Venmo, communicating through Slack. He's like, the world needs more connection, and fitness is just a great way to connect people together. And so he created this platform, and it's ultimately evolved. We now have a team of 6, and we've launched this app. It's on the App Store. If you guys want to go check it out, you can join my community right now for free. I've got workouts. I've got, we got about 120, 130 people in there that are just helping each other thrive and flourish each day. And so Upspace, that's the platform, the community building platform centered around health, happiness, love. Personally, I create content for others. It's the reason why I created it, is because I truly believe that when you take care of your physical fitness, it pours into all other areas of your life. Obviously, I've been doing a lot more work on my mental and spiritual fitness. So a lot of my content has shifted away from like, high intensity, running content, marathon preps and whatnot, to really like doing the inner work and taking a step back and realizing that, like there are other areas in life that we need to focus on outside of fitness. But obviously, like, it's something that is a part of me. It's something that like I miss dearly and will get back to sooner rather than later. But ultimately, I've been able to work with some really cool brands, some in the health and wellness space, some outside of the health and wellness space. I'm able to do my podcast every day, which, with conversations centered around helping people become the best versions of themselves. And, people always ask me, like, do you make money through like by posting on Instagram? And I'm like, not directly from Instagram, but you're able to, make money through, a collaborative post with another brand, or a podcast sponsorship, or an event, getting invited out to come do an event, or this, that, and the other. So, I've been able to get some income through that, which ultimately I put right back into, whether it's equipment or editors or experiences or whatnot, just because ultimately I have this vision of like building like both like Upspace and what I'm doing into this like media conglomerate. And like, I want to continue to, we were talking before the show, like I want to continue to elevate the level of content that I'm producing. And ultimately, like I want to have like a YouTube channel similar to like a Yes Theory, where I'm going and I'm like immersing myself in these different cultures around the world. I'm seeing what health and wellness looks like to them. I'm feeding my curiosity, and I'm really just encouraging people to do the same, to lean into your curiosity, explore the world for yourself, see the beauty that's out there, see the possibilities that exist within the world, because we are so put in this box of like what, like I mentioned earlier, like what we're supposed to do, like what our lives are supposed to look like. Most of us never move outside of like 50 miles outside of our hometown. There's like some crazy stat, like where I think it's like, 70% of people never live without like within outside of 50 miles of their hometown, which is nuts. Like, there's so many different cultures out there that eat different foods, that practice different religions, that work out differently, that do all these things differently. I ultimately want to get to a place where I am both feeding my own like creative itch, like scratching my creative itch, and doing what I feel like God's calling me to do, and helping inspire others to go live out their dreams, live out their mission, whatever else that may be. So for me, it's just I'm so blessed to be able to work with these brands. Actually, I don't really work with that many right now. I'm very focused on just building my personal brand at the moment, working with a few brands that I really believe in. But ultimately, like, Doug Elks, like, you're a brand, like Dom Fusco, like, I'm a brand. We need to be building our own personal brands. I would encourage everybody out there to build a personal brand. It's like your freaking resume, right? Like, I don't even have a resume. I just, like, here's my Instagram, like, go check it out. This is what I do. Um, but content creation is something that I love. Like, some people like, "Oh, I hate social media. Like, it's toxic, this and the other." I'm like, I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, I love it because I'm able to connect with people like you. I'm able to share my story. It feels so natural and authentic to me. And if that's not your thing, cool. But for me, it has opened up this new, like, realm of life that I didn't know existed. And it's really just opened my eyes to, like, hey, we are the creators of our own reality. And if we can just, like, tap into that, our lives are going to be exponentially better.
Dude, come on, bro. That's so good, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I love your mission, bro. Like I said, just to reiterate, just your mission to help people, I think is really powerful. And the things that you're, passionate about are things that I think more people need to be aware of. Like, dude, it's crazy, bro. We really are stuck in this box. Most of us that we just feel like we have to fall in line. And man, I don't want to ever come across as disingenuous, but like you really just have to like remove yourself from these patterns. Like it's tough, man. It's tough. And I know, some people are in different positions, with their circumstances or financially or, with the responsibilities they may have. And it may not be as easy for everyone, but there's something that you can be doing no matter who you are to be working towards what you're truly called to do. And like you said too, it takes time. Good things take time. Like, the position that you're in didn't happen overnight, but it was that consistency of working through the environment and the situation you were in to get ultimately where you are now. And obviously you'll continue to elevate and move past that. But it's something I hope people can take from this episode and really just apply, real life action, real life application. Like, how can you take that step? What does that look like for you? And I think, the way you set that up was really nice.
Yeah, it's just, I think of things, and I took this from Alex Hormozy, and I really have applied it to my life, and it's worked a lot. And it's just like thinking about the highest leverage things that you can do on a day-to-day basis too. It's like when you're in the gym, it's like, what lift's gonna give you the most bang for your buck? It's like a squat, a bench, a overhead press, like, those kind of movements, the compound lifts, because you're gonna hit lots of muscle groups without having to do a whole lot. It's like the same thing in life. It's like, what are the highest leverage things that are gonna move the needle forward for me in my life? And it's like, people might say, oh, you spend X amount of time, like, just walking without headphones in, like praying, like, all this stuff is like, that's not high leverage. That's not making you money. That's whatever. For me, that sets my day up for success. Like, that for me is a high leverage thing because it is moving the needle for me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, so that I'm going to be able to show up as the best version of me in all areas of life throughout the whole day. When you think about it from, like, a business aspect, it's like, all right, what is the highest leverage thing that's going to ultimately provide me the highest ROI? It's like, is waking up and checking emails for 2 hours first thing in the morning going to be the highest leverage thing you can do? No, probably not. It's like, if you're looking for more leads, for more customers, going out and, like, prospecting or sending out DMs or sending out cold emails or networking, reaching out to people, that's going to be higher leverage than you just being reactive and responding to emails. It's like you're going out and you're being proactive about things, right? Like, it's rather than, oh, like, when am I going to get to the gym today? When am I going to fit that in the schedule? Rather than you put going to the gym in your schedule, you're being proactive versus reactive. It's just like, it's just part of what you do. So I just think about it before I make, like, any decision, before I set up my day. Like, I always, like, try to write down, like, my 5 critical tasks that I get to do the next day. And for me, it's like, what are the 5 highest leverage things that are going to be needle movers? I say needle movers. What are going to be the 5 biggest needle movers in my day? And then after those 5 things are completed, then you get to go and do the other things. So it's really just thinking about it from like a leverage perspective.
Sure, Ben. It's amazing. Speaking of leverage, what kind of leverage have you gained from moving to Austin? I want to talk about your transition. This is obviously a big deal. You talk about most people grow up and they live 50 miles from their home, but you decided to make a huge life change and move to Austin, Texas, which I know has been, in a lot of ways, I'm sure, a big blessing and a lot of new opportunities for you. But what kind of leverage have you gained from that transition?
Yeah, I would just say like the exchange of energy has been the most amazing thing. And in terms of leverage is like leveraging the network that you have, the people that you surround yourself with. Like you go and support them, they support you, they make an intro to you for somebody who ultimately could be a business partner or like an epic podcast guest or just like a friend. Like having good people around you is like the highest leverage thing you can do. Having people who can hold you accountable, like, hey, let's go grind at a coffee shop for a couple hours. Like, hey, let's go to the gym together. Let's go run together. Let's go do this together. Like we have a group that gets together on Monday mornings and we do like a little walk or a run, and then we have some coffee and we dive into the word and we have a little Bible study after. Like that for me on a Monday morning is like the highest leverage thing that I could possibly do because it sets my day and week up for success and helps me build momentum. So just eliminating the resistance of things is very high leverage. Like I was living in Pennsylvania and I had a couple really close friends who I would train with, who I would pray with, like all this kind of stuff. But down here in Austin, there are just so many driven, like-minded, ambitious individuals that are just setting such a high standard for the way that they live. And for me, I'm like, it's like you rise and fall to the level of the people that you're around that are in your circle. And for me, it's like I'm putting myself in these circles of people who are doing amazing things and that I'm striving to be like. And so just being down here has really just elevated the way that I live my life.
Wow, man, it's awesome. Austin is an incredible city. I've been there a few times, and every time I go, man, there's just a unique energy about the place that just is radiant, and there's so many young people moving there. It's a pretty special place to be.
It is. It's incredible. You gotta get down here, bro. We
Dude,
gotta we gotta get
I
after
need
it.
I need to come visit you when you get back settled in after this trip.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, bro. All right, man. Well, listen, I think it's time to dive into things. That was fun. I loved hearing your context, your background, but like I really do want to kind of address the recent event you've had in your life that is I don't even, I want to be sensitive how I even explain it, but something that I guess happened to you that maybe you weren't anticipating, but obviously it's giving you new perspective, it's giving you new, an outlook on life. But take us through kind of what happened to you about a month ago on the track, man, and kind of walk us through first off just what happened and kind of how you've been able to kind of walk through, life, the second chance at life, as you say, post operation and post kind of experience.
Yeah, so I was out on a Saturday morning going out to test my mile time. That's our idea of a good time down here in Austin is going to run as mile as fast as we can at 7 in the morning. So it was just like any other morning that I would be doing a tough workout, get up, do my little morning routine and whatnot. Get ready to go pick up my buddy Bray over at the gym, and we headed to the track. And so there were five of us out there. Four of us were running. One guy was just hanging out. And first two guys, they went and they ran their miles. They crushed it. They both ran like 5 minute miles, just so fast. And I never run a mile. I never tested my mile in my life or since like middle school when we just did like our timed mile time. So I didn't really know what to expect, but I've done lots of hard track workouts. I've run 2 marathons, ultra, whatnot. A lot of speed work, track workouts, whatever. Um, man. And then so me and my friend, we were up next, and we were going and we were pacing each other. So we came out of the gate hot. We were moving. I was feeling good. First lap down, we were on pace for a 5 minute mile. Second lap down, we were on pace for a 5 minute mile. And obviously, like it sucks. Like running a time mile is just like a suffer fest for a few minutes. But that's when things kind of got a little shaky, as you could say. So I don't remember anything after my one friend who was timing said, after the 800 meters, he said, 2:30. I mean, we're on pace for a 5 minute mile. After that, I don't remember anything. So fast forward a little bit here. I ran the mile in 5:15, which was pretty solid. Pretty happy with that time. Definitely, definitely, definitely happy with that. Except I was the slowest of all four of us, which kind of pissed me off. It just shows you what kind of level of fitness people are at down here. Like, just absolutely just crushing it. But ultimately, a few minutes after I finished the mile, I went down and I I ended up having a cardiac arrest, and my life was saved through CPR. God sent an angel in the form of a firefighter who was on the track that day with his son, just happened to be there. And then one of my friends there also knew CPR. But the firefighter really just took control of everything when he saw what was going on. So I finished the mile and I was just like standing up. I don't remember any of this. This is all what my friends were telling me while I was there. So I walk over to the end of the track and I was like, trying to catch my breath. I was panting very heavily. They said I started like foaming out of my mouth a little bit. And so ultimately, I was just trying to catch my breath, couldn't really get any words out, but they were just kind of like letting me do my thing. They thought I was just, trying to settle down, bring my heart rate down. But after a couple minutes, they realized like I was still in that state and I was starting to get like a little wobbly. So they came over and sat me down and were like, hey, we're going to call an ambulance. He doesn't look too good. And ultimately, like, I don't know what it was, but I like snapped back into it and got like a surge of adrenaline. And then all of a sudden they said I was conscious again and was like, hey, no, I don't need an ambulance. I'm good. No worries. But luckily they didn't listen to me because, shortly after that, I just collapsed and my whole body went purple. I lost my pulse. I died. I legitimately died. And was able to be brought back through CPR. And even just, reliving that moment, telling you about it just gives me chills about the whole day. Obviously, I don't remember like any of this, but just the story of it. I got rushed in an ambulance to the hospital, and luckily, like I said, the firefighter was there to save my life through CPR. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking with you right now. They were able to get a pulse back, rushed me to the hospital, put me on the ICU, on the ventilator. Harry, my buddy who was there, got into like the emergency contact on my phone and called my mom who was in Philly and told her what had happened, what was going on. She immediately got the quickest flight to Austin she could. Ultimately, like missed that flight and had to wait for another one and go to Miami and then Miami to Austin. And so at this point, it's like probably, I don't know, 9 in the morning, and I'm in the ICU on a ventilator, completely unconscious. And she didn't get there till like 10 p.m. that night. But my friends were there through the entire process with me in the hospital, which I'm just so grateful for, like the community and the people down here in Austin that I have friends that would do that for me. My best friend Sean, who we're talking about, like he heard the news, flew in immediately from Malibu, California to here. And fast forward a little bit, they tried to, throughout the night, they tried to take me off the ventilator a few times and I couldn't breathe under my own power. And so they had to keep me on it. And it wasn't until I think the third time that they tried to take me off the ventilator, which was the next morning around like 10. So it'd been a little over 24 hours. They finally like took me off of it and I was able to breathe under my own power. And that, man, the fact that I was able to just wake up and I rarely remember that whole day coming off, like when I woke up, I was on coming off of so many drugs and whatnot. Like the whole day is very, very blurry, but I just remember waking up in the hospital and like seeing like everybody in the room looked like balloon animals. Like that's all I remember. Um, but just had people coming in and out of the hospital all day. I don't really remember much of that, but they ultimately transferred me to a cardiology, a different hospital on the cardiology floor to have them just run tests and whatnot on my heart and see, why this cardiac arrest happened. And so I was in the hospital for a week, just getting test after test after test and just waiting for results and things like that. My mom was with me throughout the whole process, which, she's my rock. She's an angel. And I had so many amazing people come and see me in the hospital, bring me food and whatnot, because that hospital food is not getting the job done for me. But ultimately, like, I had to get a defibrillator put into my side. And for those of you who don't know what that is, if you ever watch like the cartoons, or it's like those things that they like shock your chest that like bring you back to life. So I basically have a little one of those in my side right here. I'm showing Doug on the side right here. So I've got some pretty nasty scars from surgery, like both on like my rib cage and then like in my inner chest, because I have like wires that go like from the defibrillator across my breastplate, up my chest, and then into my heart. So if anything like this would ever happen again, I would get shocked basically back to life. So it would save my life. So it gives me just peace of mind knowing that, like, if God forbid if this ever happened again, like it should shock me. It will shock me and hopefully save my life. But now it's been a month, just about a month since I had that surgery. I'm still recovering. It's a pretty intense surgery. So still pretty weak in terms of my upper body. I haven't even, like, I can't lift my arms above my head. I can't lift anything over like, 15 pounds with my left arm. So moving was fun into my new house down here. Luckily I had a lot of help in getting everything set up. But I actually just had an appointment with my cardiologist yesterday, and after a couple of weeks of still not knowing what the cause was, a week in the hospital, 3 months, 3 weeks post operation, post being discharged from the hospital, I still had no diagnosis with why this happened. And so yesterday, I found out there was no structural damage with the heart, no scarring or anything like that. So, can kind of rule all of that out, which is good. But now it's really, they know that it's more of like a problem with like the electrical circuitry of my heart, and they're trying to figure out, what caused this arrhythmia, which is an irregular heartbeat. So they're still working to see why that happened and why that caused a cardiac, or how that caused a cardiac arrest. So still not 100% sure what caused it. It's going to be a few months before I can, exercise again the way that I want to, in terms of like lifting weights, running and whatnot. But I am just, again, immensely, immensely grateful for the opportunity to be alive. I literally think that God did this for a reason. I feel like my mission has just been amplified throughout this whole process, and he's using this is all part of my journey and a part of my story. And it's basically something that I never asked for. I would never want to happen again, but I'm very grateful that it did, because it has given me a whole new outlook and perspective on life. And like I said, amplified and lit this fire under me that I want to just continue to share and help others with.
Dude, praise God, dude. Praise God you're okay, man. I am so thankful that I remember calling you when I found out the news. I remember where I was. I was leaving the gym. I just worked out and I called you. One of the things you said to me that really stuck with me, I made a video about it, is you're like, I feel like this really did happen for me and not to me. And I think that's something that a lot of us can just apply and kind of resonate with. It's like there's so many things that are out of our control, whether they're something as severe as the difficult season that you just went through, or something more relatively smaller to someone else. But there are things that happen to us that are out of our control, and we really do get to choose how we respond to them and how we interact with them, and we can be intentional in that way. And when you said that, bro, it really hit me, bro. So I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for your your outlook on life, dude, and that God's giving you a second chance at this thing because you're gonna kill it, bro. You're gonna keep making a huge impact.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. It's, you know, we have these things that happen to us in life, and a lot of times we can get angry at God. Like I've been there in my life. Things have unfolded. I've been angry. Like, I get injured or something. I have some family issues or some financial issues, whatever happens, and you can get angry at God. But when you really realize that, like, you know, okay, why is he putting me through this? Like, what is he trying to tell me? What is he trying to teach me? And how can I come out stronger on the other side of this? It is a powerful, powerful mindset shift that is ultimately going to, transcend us from the person that we are now into the person that we're becoming and the person that he wants us to be.
Dude, so good, man. What are some things that you've learned from this experience, like physically, spiritually, emotionally? Like, what are some things that you've been able to take away from this and grow from through, having gone through this?
I think the biggest thing is we shouldn't fear death.
Mm,
Death is something that I've certainly feared, or something that, like, I've thought a lot about. And after this whole experience, it's really just been like, this whole place, this life, this body, is everything here is temporary. And when our time comes, we shouldn't like fear it. We should embrace it, because ultimately, like, God's got us. Like, if we live a good moral life, we do the best that we can. We strive to help others as best we can. We strive to leave a legacy, leave this world better than we found it. We're gonna be okay. I know, and again, like, I believe that there's life after death. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I fully believe that. And like, if you think about it, the odds of us ever being born are so freaking slim, and we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to God, we owe it to others to do that thing, like, pursue that goal, like, start that business, freaking, go on that trip, have that adventure, like, whatever else it is. Like, there's an amazing world out there. There's literally endless possibilities of what we can do. And again, it goes back to this idea of, like, putting, like, this ceiling, this roof on our potential, on our capabilities, of things that we're supposed to be doing. Like, we're so much of, like, oh, I can't do this because it's like, well, what do you want to get to the end of your life and ask, like, say, like, oh man, what if I would have done this? What if I would have done that? Those two words scare me so freaking much. And they scare me way more than death. And I want to get to my life. I realize that, like, the quality of our years matter more than the quantity of them, because so many people get to their end of their lives not having lived. I think that's like, and like, Thoreau, a quote or something like that. It's like, the saddest thing is that, like, a man, like, lived, or like, a man will die, but he never truly lived. I don't want that to be true for me. I don't want that true to be true for anybody. So for me, it's just like, at the end of the day, nothing here matters that much. So you might as well do something that matters and make the most of every day that you have.
dude, come on, bro. It's so good, man. It's so, so good. It's, yeah, dude, it's when you can surround yourself with people that remind you of that, it's really special. And I'm grateful to have you in my circle reminding me of that. And dude, I've been reading Romans the last couple weeks, and I was reading chapter 5 the other day, and verses 3 through 5. I have it pulled up over here, but it says, we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance, and endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. In this hope, we will not lead to disappointment, for we know how dearly God loves us because He's given His Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with His love. And dude, I thought of you, bro. I thought of you first. Obviously, that can be applied to so many things, but man, with everything you're going through and the way you've been able to use this to build your character, to build your faith, to build, your impact on others, like it's been really cool to see that from afar, and I'm just really excited to see all the things that you continue to do for God through this, bro.
Dude, that's one of my favorite verses, one that I come back to often. Funny that that came up right around the time that we're recording this. So, dude, I love that. And it's just amazing how scripture hits us sometimes exactly when we need it. and it's so cool. It's not there's no coincidences, there's no accidents.
No doubt, man. What does the future look like for you moving forward? I know you've touched on it a little bit, but like what are you most excited about? Obviously, this is just kind of your reality right now of what you're, physically able to do, but like from a business standpoint, from a mental standpoint, like where are you headed and like what are you most excited about like chasing after or pursuing during this season of life?
I am so excited about what I think like just continuing to tap into like what I'm truly capable of. And like I feel like I've developed this relationship with God now where I'm so just not afraid of like to take action on anything. And I see like the platforms that I've like been given and like the the experiences that I've had and the people that I've been able to surround myself with. And ultimately, like this vision I have for inspiring and empowering 100 million people. Like, I see that goal, like, I don't know, again, I don't know how, I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to measure that metric, but I just see how much opportunity is out there if I just stay consistent, if I trust in God, allow Him to lead the way. There's a lot of cool things happening in my life. Like obviously, I'm building a really awesome company. I'm connecting with a lot of cool people on the podcast. I'm putting together a trip to Tanzania in February to climb Mount Kilimanjaro and raise money for my friend's nonprofit in Tanzania that he runs, and just really living an uncommon life and showing others that like that is possible. It doesn't have to be an anomaly. It can be the norm, and just really using my platform to inspire the next generation. That's what gets me excited.
Dude, come on, man. I love it, man. I can't wait to be in your corner the whole way, aim and everything, bro. We love supporting you and everything you're doing, bro. And it's just again, it's helping people with a genuineness of like you really do want to serve and you really want to just make other people better. I love Craig Rochelle. I don't know if you listen to Craig Rochelle. He's a pastor in, I believe, Oklahoma. I listen to him online, but he just had a sermon about like what does it truly mean to be the GOAT? Like who is the GOAT? And he used all these earthly examples of Michael Jordan versus LeBron, like Messi versus Ronaldo, Superman versus, Superwoman, whatever. But then he brings obviously Jesus into the fold and he just talks about one of the main qualities of like being the greatest is the ability to serve others. And your whole life, your whole life thesis, your whole life mission is to serve others, make an impact. And I just want to applaud you because I think it's really, really special.
Thank you, bro. I love that. I'm gonna have to go check that out. Jesus is the GOAT, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'll send you the sermon after the podcast, but it's good. You should check it out for sure.
I love that.
Well, Dom, dude, this has been truly an incredible episode. I'm super grateful for you, your time, your openness to share your story and all the things that, are going on in your life. And I just, like I said, I really hope this episode reaches people, if it's one person at a time, that can just be lifted up and just reminded how great like life really is. And no matter what you're dealing, no matter what you're going through, like there's something to be excited about. There's something to be grateful for. And as long as you're still here, you have a mission, you have an opportunity, you have an obligation, a responsibility to make the most of it. So, dude, this has been such a blast. I'm so thankful for you, bro, and I really appreciate you coming on the AIM podcast.
Much love, brother. I love to see everything that you're building. You inspire me, and you hustle, you grind for everything that you've gotten, and just to see the hand that you have in all the businesses and all the impact you're having, truly admirable. So grateful to have you in my corner, bro.
Let's go. Thank you, bro.